The forbidden chamber. The planet Zelvarus was quiet. No wind, no sound, just silence and broken stone ruins. Long ago, it had been the heart of a great alien empire. Now it was forgotten, dead. All that remained was a massive black palace covered in dust and ash. The local species called it the Forbidden Place. No one dared to go near it, but one human did. Daniel Hayes, a young explorer from Earth, crashed his ship during a storm while trying to map unknown planets. His supplies were low. His ship was broken. He walked for hours across the dry land, searching for shelter. Finally, he saw the palace. It looked old, but not completely ruined. The walls were tall and strange. They glowed faintly, like they were still alive. Daniel walked through the main gate slowly, his boots crunching on alien stone. Inside, he found massive halls filled with statues and carvings. Some showed a beautiful alien woman with long silver hair and glowing eyes. Others showed battles, alien kings, and strange beasts. Everything was covered in dust. It looked like no one had entered in hundreds of years. Then Daniel found a door that wasn't locked. It was round, black, and pulsing with a soft blue light. He touched it, and to his surprise, it opened with a quiet hiss. Cold air rushed out. It felt like the air hadn't moved in centuries. Inside was a small round room. In the center was a tall glass pod. Daniel stopped. Inside the pod lay a girl, an alien girl. Her skin was pale violet, her lips soft blue. Her long silver hair floated gently, as if in water. She looked no older than him. She was wearing a royal dress with golden patterns. Her arms rested over her chest and her face was peaceful, like she was dreaming. He stared at her, frozen. "Who are you?" he whispered. The pod was connected to machines around the room. Some were blinking, others dark. Daniel stepped closer. There was a symbol on the ground, glowing faintly under his feet. The moment he stepped on it, the lights grew brighter. Suddenly, the machines hummed. A voice echoed through the room. Not a human voice, mechanical, deep, and cold, unauthorized. Life form detected. Initiating contact protocol. Daniel stepped back in fear, but the pod began to glow. The girl inside moved, just a little. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes fluttered. Daniel's heart pounded. "She's alive!" He rushed forward. He didn't know what he was doing. He just placed his hand on the glass. At that moment, everything stopped. The glow faded. The machines went silent. The room grew still. Then, her eyes opened, bright silver, glowing like stars. She gasped. Her hand rose slowly and touched the inside of the pod where his hand rested. Their palms met through the glass. Daniel," she whispered. Daniel stepped back in shock. "How do you know my name?" She pushed the pod door slowly. It opened with a hiss. Steam escaped as she stood up, weak but breathing. Her legs trembled and she almost fell. Daniel caught her gently. "You've been asleep," he said. "For a long time." She looked around, confused. "How long?" Daniel pulled out his scanner. The data from the room's systems told the truth. 312 years, he said. Her eyes widened. She whispered something in her alien language, but then looked at him again. "You touched me." "I was just trying to help," Daniel said. "No one else was here." "No one else could," she said. "Only one from the death world, Earth, could awaken me." Daniel frowned. "Wait, how do you know about Earth?" The girl didn't answer. Instead, the walls of the chamber began to shift. Glowing symbols lit up, and a loud alarm echoed through the building. "Warning, royal seal broken. Awakening protocol activated. Prepare for external response." Daniel helped her walk as she struggled to stay on her feet. "We need to get out of here," he said. But before they could leave, the chamber doors slammed shut behind them with a boom. They were trapped, and far above the planet, in the silence of space, a signal had just been sent across the stars. The lost princess of Zelvaris had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. She speaks his name. The chamber was no longer quiet. Lights blinked. Alarms echoed through the stone walls. Strange alien machines began to move, like they had been waiting for this moment for centuries, and in the center stood the girl, awake after 300 years. Her knees shook, but she stood tall, holding on to Daniel's arm. Her silver hair shimmered under the flickering lights. Her eyes, glowing with soft silver light, were locked on his face. "You really are human," she said, her voice soft but sure. "You came, just like the stars said." Daniel didn't understand. "You said my name before. How? We've never met." She looked down at her hand, then at him. "I saw you, in dreams, over and over again, for years. Trapped in sleep, but your face was always there, always the same. I didn't know your name until I woke, but the moment I did, I knew." Daniel stared at her, confused but curious. "What's your name?" The girl blinked like she had forgotten. "Lyra. Was a princess of Zelvaris, the last one." Suddenly, a hidden door on the side of the chamber opened with a loud click. From the darkness inside, a floating AI drone drifted out. Its eye glowed red. "Royal subject identified. Foreign DNA detected. Human contact confirmed. Protocol breach." Daniel reached for the only tool he had, a small shock blade on his belt. He stepped in front of Lyra. The drone paused, then said something strange. "Chosen guardian located. Link confirmed." "Wait, what?" Daniel blinked. Before he could ask anything, the drone flashed with light and shut down. Then the air in the chamber changed. Lyra suddenly grabbed her head. She winced in pain. "Are you okay?" Daniel asked. Holding her shoulder, I can feel something," she whispered. "In my mind like a voice, but it's not mine." Daniel frowned. "You mean the AI?" She shook her head. "No. You." Daniel froze. "What?" She looked up at him. "When you touched me, something connected us. I can feel your heartbeat, your fear, your confusion." Daniel backed away, but she reached out to him. "Don't, I'm not afraid. I've waited for this, for you." He didn't know what to say. Outside the chamber, the sound of distant engines rumbled. The floor shook lightly. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra looked up, eyes wide. "They heard the signal. They're coming." "Who?" Daniel asked. "The ones who wanted me dead," she whispered. "My family betrayed me. My fiancé. He wanted the throne. When I refused him, they froze me. Said I was sick. Said I was cursed. But it was a lie. And now that you're awake," Daniel said slowly, "they'll want to finish what they started." Daniel helped her walk toward the side tunnel. "Then we better leave before they arrive." As they walked through the tunnel, Lyra's strength returned slowly. She touched the stone walls as they passed. Symbols on the walls lit up as her fingers brushed over them. "This place still remembers me," she said softly. Daniel shook his head in amazement. "You said something earlier, about me being chosen. What did that mean?" Lyra hesitated. "It's part of an old legend, about the Deathworlders." "You mean humans?" "Yes, the Empire believed your kind were only a myth. Creatures from a cursed planet. Too strong, too wild. But the priest said a human would awaken me one day, if the royal bloodline ever failed." Daniel gave a small laugh. "That's one crazy prophecy." She looked at him with serious eyes. "Yet here, you are." Just then the tunnel opened into a large underground hall. It was filled with old transport ships, most broken, but one vessel blinked with power. Lyra smiled faintly. "That one's still working. It's old but loyal." Suddenly, a blaring noise filled the air. A warning from the surface. An alien ship had landed. Lyra's face grew pale. "They're here." Daniel helped her move faster. "Then we fly." They climbed into the ship, and Daniel, guided by Lyra's voice, hit the right buttons. The ship rose just as something exploded at the palace's main gate. From the view window, Daniel saw black armored figures storming into the ruins. "We barely made it," he muttered. But Lyra wasn't looking back. Her eyes were focused on the stars ahead. "I'm awake now," she whispered. "And the galaxy will remember me. The curse and the prophecy." In deep space, the stars looked peaceful. But peace was a lie. Inside the stolen royal cruiser, Daniel sat in the pilot seat, sweating. He had never flown an alien ship before. His hands shook as he held the strange controls. Beside him, Lyra stood, quiet, staring at the stars through the window, her silver eyes glowing. She didn't blink. She didn't smile. She looked haunted. Finally, she spoke. "You don't understand what you've done, do you?" Daniel glanced at her. "I woke you up. I saved your life." "No." She turned to face him. "You changed everything." Daniel sighed. "Then explain it to me." She walked to a corner of the ship and opened a hidden panel. Inside was a small glowing sphere. It hovered between her hands, pulsing with soft blue light. "This is a memory core," she said. "It holds what they didn't want me to remember. I hid it before they froze me." As she activated the core, the ship's lights dimmed. Holograms appeared, moving images of her past. One showed her standing in a palace, surrounded by guards. Another showed a crowd of aliens bowing to her. Then came the last image, a dark-haired alien prince holding her hand. She was crying. "That was him," she whispered. "Prince Vial. I was meant to marry him." Daniel watched silently. "He didn't love me. He wanted power. He needed my bloodline to become ruler, but I refused the bond. So, he cursed me." "Cursed? You?" Daniel frowned. "Not with magic," she said. "With lies. He told the Empire I had gone mad. He told them I carried a sickness from an ancient world, that I was too dangerous to live." She looked at Daniel. "They believed him." Daniel's voice was soft. "So they put you in that pod." Lyra nodded. "Frozen. Sealed in the forbidden chamber. And they wrote a prophecy, saying that if I ever woke up, a creature from the death world would have to be the one to break the seal. It was meant as a warning, a curse. But I'm not a monster," Daniel said. Lyra walked closer. "No, but to them, you are. Humans are seen as unstable, violent, and too free. But that's exactly what makes you strong." Daniel looked away, his voice bitter. "So I was just part of their prophecy, not chosen by fate. Just a tool." "No." Her voice turned soft. "You weren't chosen by a curse, you were chosen by me." He blinked. "What?" "I saw you in dreams, Daniel. Before I ever met you. I called for help, and the stars answered." Before he could reply, a loud beep came from the ship's radar. Daniel ran to the console. "Something's following us," he said. "Fast!" Lyra's face hardened. "That will be Vial's hunters. He'll never let me escape." Daniel looked at the screen. "One ship, no, 2, 3. Suddenly the ship jolted, lights flickered. Something had hit them from behind. "We need to land," Daniel shouted. "There's a moon nearby," Lyra pointed. "Head for the surface. There's an old rebel base hidden there. We might find help or weapons." Daniel turned the ship, hard. It roared as it entered the moon's atmosphere, fire streaking across the sky. Behind them, alien warships chased with glowing engines. Inside the ship, Lyra grabbed onto the seat. Her eyes were closed. "I can feel them," she whispered. "They want to kill me, and they want you to now." "Let them try," Daniel growled. "I'm not leaving you behind." As the ship landed roughly among sharp rocks and dead trees, Daniel pulled a rifle from the storage unit. It wasn't human tech, it was alien but familiar now. He turned to Lyra. "If this is what fate wants, then fine. Let's rewrite it." Lyra stared at him, something burning behind her glowing eyes. "You are not part of a curse," she said. "You're the answer to it." Outside, the hunters were landing. Inside, two beings, one human, one royal alien girl, stood ready. Their fight had only just begun. A fight in the dust exploded into the air as a plasma bolt struck the ground, near Daniel's feet. He dove behind a jagged rock, rolled, and came up with the alien rifle in his hands. His breathing was fast, heart racing. This wasn't training. This was real. They were being hunted, and he was the only one standing between Lyra and death. From behind the stone, Lyra shouted, "One of them is cloaked. I can feel his mind, cold, empty." Daniel scanned the broken ground. The moon was dry and dead. Sharp rocks and broken structures from the old rebel base gave them little cover. The sky was red with swirling ash. Every breath tasted like smoke and iron. A faint shimmer moved between two rocks. Daniel didn't hesitate. Bang! The rifle kicked hard, sending a bolt of energy flying. It struck the shimmer and revealed a tall alien with dark armor and glowing eyes. The assassin roared and fell back, stunned. Daniel rushed forward, sliding down a slope and blasting again. The alien staggered, then drew a long blade and charged. They clashed in the dust. Blade met rifle. Sparks flew. Daniel ducked, punched, and rolled. The alien was fast, too fast. But Daniel fought like he was fighting for Earth itself. The alien slashed, cutting Daniel's arm. Daniel screamed in pain but didn't fall. He kicked the alien hard in the knee, spun behind him, and drove the rifle butt into the back of its skull. The alien collapsed with a grunt. One down. But more shadows were coming. Lyra stepped out from cover, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. She raised her hand and the ground shook. Daniel stared. "What are you doing?" "I'm not helpless anymore," she said. "The bond between us, it's growing stronger. I can feel what you feel. Your pain, your rage, your courage. It gives me power." "Good," Daniel said, grabbing her hand, "because we'll need all of it." Suddenly, an explosion rocked the area behind them. A second hunter dropped from the sky, landing like thunder. This one was massive, twice Daniel's size, with heavy armor and a shoulder cannon already charging. Daniel pushed Lyra back and raised his rifle. Too late. The cannon fired. Lyra screamed and threw up a glowing energy shield. The blast hit it and shattered the shield like glass, throwing both of them back. Daniel hit the ground hard. His head spun, his vision blurred. The hunter was walking toward Lyra now, raising a sharp spear. Daniel growled. Blood ran down his face. His muscles screamed in pain, but he moved. He grabbed a fallen grenade from the first alien's belt and charged, screaming. The hunter turned, but Daniel was already too close. He slammed the grenade into the alien's chest and rolled away. Boom! The explosion lit the sky. When the dust settled, the hunter was gone. Only smoke and fire remained. Daniel coughed and fell to his knees. Lyra crawled to him and wrapped her arms around him, eyes wide with panic. "You're hurt," she whispered. "I'll live," Daniel muttered. She placed her hand over his wound and her skin glowed faintly. The pain faded slightly. Daniel looked up. "What was that?" "Part of the old power," she said quietly. "Royal blood can heal, but only if we trust the one we heal." He smiled weakly. "Then keep trusting me." In the distance, more ships circled the moon. The hunters weren't done, but Daniel and Lyra had survived the first wave. More importantly, they had fought together. And for the first time, Daniel wasn't just an explorer from Earth. He was something more now. A warrior, a guardian, maybe even a legend. Lyra looked at him, tears in her silver eyes. "You should have run," Daniel laughed. "I'm human. We don't run when someone needs us." She smiled, a real smile. Then maybe the prophecy wasn't a curse after all. Above them, the stars burned red. The real war was coming, and they would face it, side by side. The truth buried in stars in a quiet corner of the galaxy. They found the ghost of a war. Daniel guided their ship into orbit around a shattered world. The planet below was cracked, half burnt with strange lights flickering beneath its broken surface. It didn't spin right. Time itself felt slower near it. This place doesn't look safe, Daniel muttered. Lyra stood beside him, eyes fixed. On the wreckage. It's not. But it's where the truth lives. The ship descended. Once this world had been a secret rebel lab, hidden during the old Empire's war. Now it was a ruin. Still, Lyra believed someone might still be alive. A scientist who had once served her family in secret, and who knew the truth about what was done to her. They landed on a landing pad covered in vines and ash. The doors of the old base groaned open as they entered. Inside was darkness, silence, and then a voice. Princess Lyra. Is it truly you? A tall, thin alien stepped from the shadows. His skin was pale gray, his eyes mechanical, one side of his body replaced by machines. He was old, too old to be alive without help. Lyra bowed her head. Dr. Yexil, you remember me? How could I forget the last royal child? He said with a sad smile. I hoped the legends were true, that you would wake, that a human would come. Daniel narrowed his eyes. You knew about me? Not you exactly, Yexil said, turning to a control panel. But your kind, the Death Worlders. You were the missing piece in a plan we dared not speak aloud. He pressed a button and a glowing star map lit up the room. It showed the galaxy and Earth. We discovered your world long ago, Yexil explained. A planet of storms, beasts, and impossible life. We feared it, but we also admired it. We believed only someone born there could resist the Empire's mind control. Lyra stepped forward. That's why the bond was created? Yexil nodded. You were born with rare blood, ancient blood, but to unlock your full power, you needed a human, a partner who couldn't be controlled. Daniel looked stunned. So I'm not just part of a prophecy, I'm a key. You are more than that, Yexil said. You are a threat. That's why Vale feared you, Lyra, not because of who you were, but because of who you would become. Once you bonded with a human, Lyra turned to Daniel, her eyes wide. That's why I kept seeing you in my dreams. Yes, Yexil confirmed. The bond reaches across time, across sleep. You were calling for each other without knowing it. Daniel sat down, trying to process it all. So what now? Are we supposed to fight an entire empire? No, Yexil said. You're supposed to end it. Suddenly, alarms blared. Yexil turned to his console. They've tracked your ship. They're here. Daniel stood. How many? Yexil's voice was grim. Too many. Lyra stepped beside Daniel. Then we make our stand here. No, Yexil said. You run. There's something I didn't tell you. He walked to a hidden vault and placed his hand on it. The door hissed open. Inside floated a glowing sphere, larger than the one before. It pulsed like a heart. This, Yexil said, is the final archive. It holds the proof of everything. The lies, the mind control, the false rulers. If you get this to the Resistance, the Empire will fall. Daniel took it carefully. What about you? I will hold them, here as long as I can, Yexil said with a soft smile. Old scientists still have some tricks. Lyra hesitated. You'll die. He nodded. So you can live. So others can be free. Daniel and Lyra rushed back to the ship. As they lifted off, the rebel base below erupted in explosions. Dr. Yexil was gone, but he had bought them time. As they flew away, Daniel looked at the archive. This changes everything, he said. Lyra touched his hand. No, you changed everything. Above them, stars lit a path forward. Behind them, fire marked the end of an era, and ahead, a final battle waited, the awakening of the Empire. The gates of the Empire's capital opened for the first time in 50 years. Crowds gathered across floating bridges and silver towers. The air shimmered with tension. Soldiers in dark armor stood in rows. Priests of the old order whispered prayers. Eyes turned to the sky, where a strange ship pierced the clouds. Old, dusty, and burning on re-entry. But all anyone could speak about was the message sent ahead. The lost princess is alive, and she is returning, with a human. Daniel gripped the controls as the cruiser shook violently. "We're coming in too fast." Lyra stood behind him, calm, eyes glowing. "Let them see us burn. Let them see we are not afraid." The ship crashed into the royal landing ring with a screech, sparks flying. Guards surrounded it within seconds. Cannons aimed, drones hovered, but no one fired, because the door opened, and she walked out. Lyra's silver dress shimmered in the sunlight. Her hair floated softly in the air, her presence like a pulse felt through bone. Beside her, Daniel stepped out in a simple jacket. Blaster at his side, his face bruised but unshaken. A high priest stepped forward. "You should not be here. You were declared unfit. Your line is broken." Lyra lifted her hand, and the air shimmered with power. "And yet I stand alive, awake, and bonded." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Bonded? To what? Someone whispered. Daniel stepped forward, holding the glowing archive Yexil had given them. To truth. Inside the throne chamber, the Empire's ruling council sat frozen, and at the center stood Prince Viel. He had not aged. His eyes were sharp, his armor ceremonial and cruel, and his smirk was poisonous. "Well, well," he said, "the sleeping princess rises from the dead and brings a pet human to bark for her." Daniel stared at him. "I'm no pet." Viel raised a brow. "Then you must be the chosen human the stories mentioned. How romantic, how pathetic." Lyra stepped forward, voice steady. "You betrayed me, lied about my mind, froze me, like an animal." Viel laughed. "And the Empire thanked me. I gave them peace. You gave them fear. I gave them order. You destroyed my name, my legacy. I made you history." Daniel stepped between them. "Then let's write a new one." Viel chuckled. "I should kill you now." A high priest interrupted. "The old laws say the princess has the right to a trial of truth if she is challenged." Silence. Viel's smile vanished. "I challenge him," Lyra said, "but not with swords, with proof." Daniel placed the glowing sphere into the central pillar. The room filled with light. Holograms exploded in the air. Memories, voices, orders, confessions. Viel's own words played aloud. "I control her now. She won't wake. If she does, the people will never believe her. The human? A lie. A myth?" The council stood in shock. Priests gasped. Some of the guards lowered their weapons. Viel's face twisted. "Lies." Then he drew his blade and threw it straight at Daniel. Time slowed, but Lyra raised her hand and stopped the blade midair. With her other hand, she called Daniel forward. "Now," she whispered. "Face him. The trial of champions. An arena of dust and honor." Crowds filled the sky balconies. The duel was old law. One fight to decide truth when politics failed. Viel stood with polished armor, energy blade humming. Daniel wore light combat gear, a human-made blade, and every bruise from the war so far. Lyra stood at the edge, her hands clasped. Her power would not help him here. This was his moment. A bell rang. Viel charged. Daniel dodged fast. He ducked under the blade, rolled, and slashed. Viel countered with brutal strikes. He was trained, smooth, deadly. Daniel fought like Earth taught. Him, wild, rough, clever. He kicked dust in Viel's eyes, punched, grabbed his wrist and twisted. The crowd gasped as Viel stumbled, but Viel roared and landed a strike across Daniel's side. Blood sprayed. Daniel dropped to one knee. "Stay down, savage," Viel hissed. "You don't belong in this world." Daniel coughed blood and smiled. "That's the thing about humans. We never do." He drove his blade into the ground, triggering. The pulse bomb hidden underneath. Boom! The shockwave blasted Viel back. Daniel jumped, grabbed him midair and slammed him into the arena floor. His blade was at Viel's throat. The crowd held its breath. "Yield," Daniel growled. Viel spat. "Never." Daniel. raise the blade, but Lyra called out, "No, let the people decide." Later, in the central plaza, the council gathered. The high priest stepped forward. In the trial of champions, the human has proven himself. The crimes of Prince Vael have been shown. The princess has returned. He turned to Lyra. "Do you accept the throne?" Lyra looked at Daniel, then the stars. "I do." He turned to Daniel. "And do you, human, accept the bond of royal guardian and partner?" Daniel looked at Lyra. She smiled, not as a princess, as a friend, as something more. "Do," he said. The priest raised his arms. "Then let it be known, a new era begins." Later that night, far from the palace, Daniel stood alone on a balcony. Lyra joined him barefoot in a simple robe. She stood beside him, silent. "You did it," he said softly. "You're queen." "No," she said. "We did it," he chuckled. "So, what now?" She leaned on his shoulder. "Now we fix everything," he smiled. "That sounds like a lot of work." She nodded. "It is." Pause. Then she whispered, "But I'm glad I dreamed of you, Daniel Hayes." He looked at her, and this time, neither of them looked away. Above them, the stars burned brighter than ever, and far across the galaxy, people whispered of a new legend. The human who awakened a sleeping empire.